Greetings, YouTube. I'm currently reading a book that's dealing with virginity, which, remember, is a social construct. But one of the things that struck me the most, and I'm only about halfway through the book, is the just atrocious, appalling, heartbreaking ignorance of so many people that were interviewed of basic human anatomy, biological functions, and human sexuality. Both men and women of an earlier era, and some of these people were born in 1915, 1924, 1942. They were terribly ignorant of how humans functioned and how human sexuality actually works. I mean, it was just like, I'm just like, holy crap. I mean, some of these people were even lacking like schoolyard rumors. There was just nothing for them to base reasonable, intelligent decisions on, and it was horrible. And it reminds me of the abstinence only policies that we have in America. And I know that's probably going to come as a shock to some people outside the US, but in America, for the most part, sex education in America amounts to a bare understanding of biology, how reproduction actually works, and how a baby goes from egg and sperm until a full-blown human, and all the stages in between. And it completely skips sexuality, and it just says, well, now that you know how a baby is made, don't have sex. Now, I want you to imagine for a second that you have decided to take a driver's ed course. Now, most people have taken a driver's ed course when they were at some point in their life. Heck, I took one at 16, even though I didn't get my license for another 20 years. But I still took a driver's ed course. Now imagine you take the course, the instructor tells you how a car works. And after the instructor tells you how the car works, the instructor says, now, don't drive. That actually isn't a driver's education course, because they are failing to teach you how to drive. And that is, in essence, what the American sex education system does. It gives barely functional understandings of human biology, and layered with a lot of bullshit and social conservative narratives, and then just says, nah, now don't have sex. And we all know how well that works. These people shouldn't be anywhere near children. They should not be teaching kids about sex education. Now, in a reasonable world, like many European countries, sex education is integrated into the education over the arc of the child's entire time in school, with age-appropriate lessons along the way. For example, the biological process that goes from sperm and egg to baby should just be in biology. It doesn't need to be in a special sex education, because it's not actually about the sex part, it's about the biology part. The sex part should have its own course, and that sex part should be a sex positive process where it presents all the possibilities to the students and explains to them that you get to decide what you do with your own body. The course should cover things like making sure that they understand how their bodies work through masturbation. Find out what you like before you involve another person. How you do and don't like to be touched. This will be modified, of course, once you involve another person, because that's an entire new dynamic and new dimension. Understand that you have the power to make decisions about who touches you, when they touch you, how they touch you. You can decide you don't ever want to be touched. You can make the decision that you want to wait for a certain amount of time until you get to a certain place in a relationship. You could decide that you could make the decision that you want to have sex with every person you can lay your hands on, and they should be taught how to do that safely. Birth control, barrier protections, safe sex techniques, how to have non-penetrative sex if you want it, how to use dams, how to use condoms, how to use all the different types of birth control that are available in the market. The understanding that abortion is your right, and that if you choose to have one, you should understand the ramifications thereof, and understand that contrary to what the social conservatives will tell you, it is a safe procedure. It is not dangerous. It is not going to cause you great problems in the future. That is all a social conservative narrative line of bullshit because they just don't want you to have an abortion. But all this needs to be given to children at an age-appropriate time so that they can make healthy, sex-positive decisions, as opposed to teaching them how the car works and then just saying, no, now don't drive. That's crap, and you know it's crap. The American sex education system is crap. And we need to fix it. But we're not going to be able to achieve that so long as we're allowing social conservatives to impose their worldview upon our kids, creating another generation of people who will fall victim to unwanted pregnancies and STDs because they didn't have the information they needed. And that is what our sex education system is perpetrating. An endless cycle of unwanted pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, and misery, guilt, and shame about people's bodies, about their desires, about who they should and shouldn't be having sex with, how to have it. And none of these courses ever talk about things like consent, which should be taught from childhood. Children should understand they don't have to hug anybody they don't want to hug. Doesn't matter what their blood relation is. They don't have to kiss anybody they don't want to kiss. They don't have to touch or be touched by anyone they don't want to be touched or touch. Children should understand that by the time they're 3 or 4. That they have autonomy. They have agency. And all of that should be part of the sex education course as well. And we would end up with generations of people who are happier, healthier, and more mentally prepared to have a positive relationships in the future. But instead, we just tell the kids, well, you know how the car works. Now don't drive.